back once again to one of the daily readings for Convergence Book 1 of the Dragon Within Saga. You can find them online. I'll leave a link in the descriptions to my website, and then you can just go to the novel page and you get that link to order it right from there if you'd like. But we're going to continue in Chapter 4. Actually, we're going to finish Chapter 4 today, and this is just the moment where Telos has finally, he opened the door to the room that contains this knowledge that only the Grand Wizards are allowed to know and understand. So we're going to pick up here, and maybe we'll find out what's behind this door. Alright, so here we go, finishing Chapter 4 of Convergence, Book 1 of the Dragon Within Saga. The ensuing radiance of magic held behind the door, while not strong enough to cause the wizard pause, was enough to shift his focus from his intended research to the splendor of the secrets contained in this large cavern. Magic was, at its very nature, meant for movement. So much of it was held and stilled behind the door that when it was released, it caused him to feel slightly more alive as its residue washed over him. There was a brief moment of ecstasy as the cascading flood of power hit him, but he was quick to recover his intent. Reaching the threshold, his eyes were drawn instinctively to the numerous stands and pedestals set opposite each other. Each held one of the items of power that were deemed too dangerous for anyone, including the Grand Wizard, to wield. There were rings, sets of armor, weapons, amulets, and several other items not directly related to any specific predefined shape. Again, as he walked past each one, he knew the strength of power they contained was not the reason they were forbidden, but rather the nature of their power. All of them predated the university, and as such, their genesis and subsequent purpose had not been fully revealed. Each Grand Wizard had initially made it part of his intent to study. In secret, of course, each of these items of power. However, each of them, including Telos, was unsuccessful in this endeavor as the other more pressing duties seemed to always intervene. Bypassing all of the weapons, leaving him with a sense of forlorn longing, he slowly strode into the final stage of this passage and what he hoped would be the end of his quest for knowledge pertaining to the angel and its directive. But in all reality, he did not know where his journey would end. So little was there available information upon the topic of angels that he was not sure he would find it even within the Book of All. Within its pages were said to live the knowledge of that which needed to be known. This book, nondescript in its physical appearance, also predated the existence of the university. It is said that the knowledge in this book is ever-changing in regards to its reader's needs, but only if the reader was consciously aware of said direct needs. This is not to say the book fulfilled the knowledge for the reader to attain to specific desires, because more times than not, there exists a definitive difference between desire and need. And if there was a confusion between what the reader perceived as a need, but was simply a desire, the consequences could be devastating. Because of this, none of his predecessors as Grand Wizard had consulted the Book of All for any of their questions. Was he potentially taking an unnecessary risk by consulting the book first? Of course. But then again, from his brief understanding of angels and their appearance in the world, there were always two distinct principles that seemed to govern their influence. Firstly, the angels appeared when all other options, some known and some unknown, were exhausted, leaving their interventions intent derived from purpose and need. And secondly, the angels' appearances either came moments before or moments after a period of great devastation. Having considered the possibility that this was such a moment in time, as well as the possibility that it was not, he felt an internal force gravitating his attention upon what was quickly emerging as his single course of rational action, the Book of All. As it sat open upon a stark white dais standing about 4 feet above a small elevated area in the very back of the Cavern of Mysteries, Telos paused before rounding the dais to stand in front of the pedestal. In all of his life, through all the ages of men, dwarves, elves, fairies, ogres, orcs, goblins, and all other inhabitants of Avendia, he could not help but feel an imminently approaching doom. What was going to face this land now, in this age that necessitated the intervention of angels? As a wizard, and because of the magic he held within, he was privy to leanings and feelings surpassing the rationally explainable educated guess. And this was one of those times. A deep foreboding began to build beyond his gut and straight from his reservoir and talent. He could not explain how he knew, but he knew. Avendia was entering a very dark time, and his role was going to be integral in bringing back the light. And then he had it. He had the need of his role to be fulfilled. He hurried around the dais and looked down at the open book. Pulsing from the blank page came an energy seeking to distinguish the very depth of him. With each slow and piercing pulse, he felt the consciousness of the Book of All delve more deeply within him. As Grand Wizard and the one who transformed wizardry from a foundation of outward knowledge to an internal journey propelling its level of control well beyond what it had been prior, he had reached what he believed was the ending of his consciousness. Yet this book, this old magic, was showing him even more fathoms to the oceans of his soul's spirit. Further it searched until it thudded upon the wall of his consciousness, and then it broke through. As he witnessed the truth of the power behind the charge of the angel, Intelos Saik Sair saw God. Or at least, a mere fractal aspect of a being he could not begin to fully understand. It was clear to him that present within the Book of All was a power beyond his finite comprehension. Its radiance was completely foreign, yet entirely familiar on a basal level that reached into the very bowels of what he believed truth to be, a truth that extended even further than his understanding of knowledge itself. Instantly his heartbeat increased in intensity, matching the pulsation of power emanating from the book. With each transcendent beat, words began to appear on the previously blank pages, now being illuminated by a light emanating directly from the book itself. Set against these words, in a language he could not read, was a map. But its usefulness was not readily apparent because the legend was beyond his interpretive skills. Yet somehow the necessity of this particular language was an integral part of his need. And whereas before he would have questioned the validity of being presented an answer without its apparent completion intact, such as an unknown language, the deep level of truth being conveyed through the brilliant pages caused him to believe instead of doubt. And because of this belief, he had his beginning. He had the language, and there was one person, or rather being, who could potentially possess the knowledge to decipher the map and allow him to follow what was slowly becoming much more than a quest for knowledge. It was becoming a quest for life. And that finishes chapter 4. Thanks again. We're going to end it right there. I appreciate it. Hopefully you're having as much fun listening as I am reading, as bad as my reading is. I appreciate it. Love you guys. If you like the video, please shoot me a like, subscribe, share, whatever you want to do. Check out my webpage. The link will be in the description again. And until then, may have a wonderful day, and always release, you know it, your dragon within. Thank you.